దూర విద్యా విధానంలో డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ దేశంలోనే మొట్టమొదటి సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం. దాదాపు 2.5 దశాబ్దాలుగా దూర విద్యా విధానం ద్వారా కంప్యూటర్ కోర్సును అనుసంధానం చేస్తూ బీఏ, బీకామ్, బీఎస్సీ డిగ్రీ కోర్సులను అందిస్తోంది. పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ స్థాయి, డిగ్రీ, డిప్లొమా స్థాయి కోర్సులను ఔత్సాహికులైన విద్యార్థులకు అందిస్తోంది. డెవలప్మెంట్ స్టడీస్లో సెంటర్ ఫర్ ఎకనామిక్స్ అండ్ సోషల్ స్టడీస్ ద్వారా ఎంఫిల్, పీహెచ్డీతో పాటు విశ్వవిద్యాలయమే స్వయంగా దూర విద్యా విధాన అంశంపైన పీహెచ్డీ వంటి పరిశోధన కోర్సులు ప్రవేశపెట్టింది. సుమారు 4.5 లక్షల మంది విద్యార్థులు ఈ విశ్వవిద్యాలయం నుంచి ఉన్నత విద్యావకాశాలు పొందుతున్నారు. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం స్థానికంగా స్వయం బోధనా పద్ధతిలో ముద్రణ రూపంలో రూపొందించిన కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అందిస్తోంది. కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అధ్యయనానికి సహకరించే విధంగా రేడియో, టెలివిజన్ పాఠ్యాంశాల ఆధారంగా కార్యక్రమాలు ప్రసారం చేస్తోంది. అధ్యయన కేంద్రాల ద్వారా ఏర్పాటు చేసే సలహా సంసర్గ తరగతులు, సైన్స్ ప్రాక్టికల్ సౌకర్యాలు విద్యార్థులకు స్వయం అధ్యయనానికి ఒక చక్కటి అవకాశం. ఇవి విద్యార్థి సమీపంలో ఉండే అధ్యయన కేంద్రం నుంచే పొందొచ్చు.
Hello dear students and viewers, welcome to this program. Today's program is Adolescence. It is one of the units in lifespan development of MSc Psychology and also UG Psychology. Adolescence is an important phase in human life because healthy adulthood is based or built on the foundation of adolescence. That is why we are now discussing the adolescence, and we will discuss different aspects of adolescence. For example, the meaning and different stages of adolescence, different theories of adolescence, and the problems of adolescence, and the role of different people, say family or media. This is a 1 hour program divided into two. First unit, that is discussion time, lasts for 40 minutes, and the second part is 20 minutes, that is for question time. The viewers or the students, they can ask questions on different aspects of adolescence after 2:40. As you know that adolescence is an important phase. Different psychologists viewed it differently, and some people, for example, this Stanley Hall, the first American psychologist and who is also president of American Psychological Association, you viewed adolescence as a period of storm and stress. Another psychologist, Anna Freud, he said it is a period of psychological disturbances. Another most famous or developmental theorist is Erikson. He said adolescence is a period of identity crisis or identity development. Similarly, different people, for example, say Otto, the rank, he said this is a period of change from dependence to independence. Similarly, Levin is also the field theorist, he is also Gestalt psychologist and also follower of or the psychoanalysis. He said that the adolescent is a marginal man and he is in a state of social locomotion. Another person, Margaret Mead, is an eminent anthropologist. She said that it is a phase or a period of searching for meaningful identity. And another important psychologist, that is Spranger, is a German psychologist, he said it is a period during which the healthy value system is built. Like that, different psychologists viewed it differently. So, this adolescence as different stages. So, actually our lifespan development has been divided into different stages, starting from conception to the late adulthood. In between these stages, there are other stages like infancy, puberty, adolescent, early adulthood, late adulthood, like that different stages are there. So, we will discuss these issues of adolescence. For this program, we have also invited eminent expert in psychology. She is Dr. Professor Padmaja. She is from Hyderabad Central University, is working as a faculty in Department of Health Psychology.
Center for Health Psychology.
Center for Health Psychology. So, we start with, let us first know the meaning of adolescent. Madam, will you please throw light on the meaning and the definitions of adolescence?
Sir, just now as very well portrayed by you, life is an onward journey, and at every phase of life and at every developmental stage that you have been mentioning a little while earlier, there are a new set of challenges, a unique set of challenges, as well as a unique set of opportunities as well. Now, adolescence in particular, it marks a transition from, like you said, puberty to adulthood, which you have mentioned already. And this is a time which is marked by certain significant changes in terms of physical, cognitive, social, emotional, interpersonal changes might be there during this particular period. And as they grow, the children who grow into adolescents and then as adults, during this phase, this transitional phase of adolescence, they are influenced by several factors.
Right.
Like we have been talking about, it can be parents, it can be peers, it can be peer influence, it can be media, it can be community, it can be the culture that they belong to, it can be the religion that they belong to, it can be the school, it can be the world events, which once again are reported by media or what they have been witnessing. So, all these have profound influence on adolescence. So, if we can probably we can explain adolescence in terms of three different developmental phases. One is biological development, the other is cognitive development, and the third is social development. Biologically, if we have to talk about adolescence, it is a transition, physical transition marked by onset of puberty, starting off from where puberty has taken off, and there are accompanying physical changes, and which also are marked by psychological changes. Then cognitively, during this phase, there are changes like the ability to think abstractly, which probably has not been there so far in a marked way, and then of course multidimensionally as well, not only abstractly but also multidimensionally. Then coming to the social aspect of it, it is a period of preparation for the further roles, the adult roles which the society expects from them. So, as we know, puberty will refer, it generally talks about the physiological changes, especially with reference to the sexual maturation from a child, from a childhood phase, and then accompanying bodily changes, the physiological changes as we have been talking about. Now, adolescence on the other hand, from puberty to adulthood, it includes the psychological manifestation and experiences of the child. Generally, it is divided into three stages, sir. I mean, it is an arbitrary division, definitely there will be overlap, and there are individual differences. Not every child will demonstrate the changes that we are going to talk about, but in an arbitrary, in general, there are three phases in adolescence which are talked about.
As you said, there is no fixed timeline for adolescence. So, some people call, for example, Stanley Hall said the adolescence is 12 to 25, and for Erickson it is about 12 to 18 or 19, and the World Health Organization, it said adolescent age group starts from 10 to 28, 19 or 21, like that.
19
so,
this
age group of the adolescence differs from person to person or institution. There is no uniform acceptability, universal acceptability about the timeline of adolescence, as you said.
Yes, and even within the adolescence, what I was talking about was the arbitrary division even within the adolescence, about early adolescence, the middle adolescence and late adolescence. During these phases, while the age progresses, the physiological changes, the accompanying cognitive changes and socio-emotional changes there might be slight overlap among these.
That's right.
So for some people it might be early, for some people it might be a little late.
So maturity age differs.
It differs with individuals, but
okay.
overall we can talk about certain changes in terms of physiological aspect of it, physical changes, in terms of cognitive aspects of it, and also about the socio-emotional aspects of changes.
As you said, there are different stages in adolescence. We have different stages in lifespan total lifespan development. Similarly, within the adolescence also we have 3 stages, that is as you said, early adolescence, middle adolescence and also the late adolescence, and each stage has certain characteristics as per the psychologist. Please throw more light on the characteristics of each stage.
Yes. As a child progresses from early adolescence to middle adolescence and from middle adolescence to late adolescence, there are certain changes which are visibly seen in a child. We will talk in terms of the physical development, cognitive development as well as socio-emotional development in these 3 phases of adolescence.
3 major areas.
Yes, these are the 3 major areas that I would like to discuss about. Like for example, physical development during early adolescence. This is the time where the secondary sexual characteristics are visible. They make their mark, they show their mark in the life of a child. For example, the growth of body hair and increased perspiration and other characteristics which are associated, like oil production is in hair and the skin, and all these are very clearly seen in early adolescent. There are bodily changes in girls and there are bodily changes in boys as well, and then this is the time where there is a tremendous growth in terms of height and weight. And of course, this is the time where we also see an increase in the sexual interest in the children as well. Now, coming to the cognitive development aspect of it, we see that abstract thought, which we have been mentioning about a little while earlier, this increases now. There is a growth in the abstract thought pattern. They are mostly interested in the present with limited thought about the future, the adolescent during this phase, and then their intellectual interests now expand. What have been limited to certain zones and areas now expand themselves, and then they have a certain moral thinking developing now, at this deeper moral thinking developing around this point in time, and they often engage in idealization and they compare themselves and others to see whether these ideal standards are present or are they being implemented or not. And then although they are able to predict the consequences of their actions, in terms of application of these, they are inconsistent. So to this extent, the cognitive development may be seen, and then when it comes to socio-emotional development, socially as well as emotionally, there is a struggle with the sense of identity which is visible around this time. They feel awkward about their sense of self and their body. Remember, I just told that there are several bodily changes which might manifest the secondary sexual characteristics, and several accompanying bodily changes. They worry about being normal, looking normal.
Right? They always compare with others.
Yes, and they realize that the parents are not perfect. Till then, parents are different. Now, no, there are certain things which might be lacking. This is the time where there might be increased conflict with parents.
That happen.
Yes. And then in parallel, simultaneously, there is an increased influence of the peer group. While peer group influence has been different so far, now the peer group influence is more. And then there may be this typical moodiness which they talk about adolescent moodiness, and they try to test the rules and the limits. The limit testing and rule testing happens over here, and they are more interested in privacy now. At this point in time, they are more interested in privacy, and they become socially distant now slowly from their families, and peers come to play a dominant role compared to the family. And then there is a heightened emotionality, mood fluctuations are there, as I have just now told, and there is an increase in self-consciousness, feeling self-conscious, and self-criticism. Remember, we talked about morality as well. So from there to middle adolescence. Now, middle adolescence usually spans between 14 to 18 years of age. Till 14, that is 11 to 13, can be early adolescence, and middle adolescence can roughly be arbitrarily, it can be between 14 to 18 years of age. So once again, the physical development over here, puberty is completed now, and physical growth slows for girls, and then it continues for some more time for boys. And cognitive development, coming to the cognitive development aspect of it, this abstract thought that we have been talking about a little earlier, there is an increased capacity now for abstract thought. There is a greater capacity now to set goals at this point in time, and there is an interest in moral reasoning as well, and thinking about meaning of life. It starts around this time. Coming to the socio-emotional development, we'll first talk about social development. Here the importance of peer relationships continues, as we have talked about, and here they try to act out various roles.
Yes, yes.
This is where they try out various roles, and then they try to tolerate individual differences. They understand that there are individual differences, and the people that they come in contact with, even if there are different lifestyles, different values, different kinds of people, among different kinds of people, now they learn to tolerate these individual differences, and they tend to prepare now themselves better for adult role interactions. And they begin to form a little more intimate relationships now, and this is where even sexual experimentation more or less starts around
Because
this time.
it is an age of experiment.
Yes, it is an age, correct. So emotional development, we see more emotional stability comparatively now at this during middle adolescence compared to the early adolescence, and there is an intense self-involvement. Here, that's one of the features, changing between high expectations about self to a poor self-concept. And then there is a continued adjustment to this changing body form, and then also the worries that they have about being normal. And then there is a tendency further, they are still away from parents as it was in early childhood, and there is a continued drive for independence, autonomy, and they are driven to make more friends, and they rely more and more upon friends now. Popularity can become an important issue around this time. Popularity becomes very important, and the feelings of love and passion, all these develop around this time. Then from here they move on to the late adolescence, which is approximately 19 to 21 years of age. As we said, the WHO classification, if we go by that, till 21 years of age. Then here the physical development, well, more or less for young women, for girls, now they are young women who are more or less fully developed. And then the young men, the counterparts, they continue to gain some more height and weight and muscle mass and body hair, and all these changes might still happen. Coming to the cognitive development, now they are more clear with their ideas. The ability to think the ideas through is clearer, and then delaying the gratification is also attained now. And then examination of their own inner experiences happens now. They tend to examine their own experiences, inner experiences, and then there is a concern for future. Till now the goal setting and all, now there is an increased concern for future, and continued interest also in moral reasoning, which we have been talking about. Some individuals enter what is called this post-formal thought. That stage, it might include the dialectical thinking as well, sir, some arguing, debating and all, which may, and realizing that issues are not always absolutely right or clear, that might develop. And there is a realization that problem resolution involves drawing from their own past experiences as well. Then coming to the socio-emotional development in this last part of adolescence, they begin to see themselves as adults now. They almost see themselves as adults and also as contributing members of the society as well. Well, they become less dependent on parents, and there is this psychological sense of autonomy, which is more prominent now, which is almost well developed. Then they have a firmer sense of identity compared to their earlier phases of adolescence. There is more emotional stability comparatively, and increased concern for others as well. And there is self-reliance, more independence and self-reliance rather than being dependent on family or friends for majority of decisions. And then their peer relationship, that remains important all through the adolescence. That is one common feature that we are observing.
They give more importance to peer group.
Yes. So development of more or less more serious relationships now is seen, and social and cultural traditions now regain some of their importance. Whatever has been ignored so far, probably now a little more of importance given to them.
Okay. Like you have clearly explained the different characteristics of different stages of adolescence. And we should also know the different theories of adolescence. So many psychologists in psychology, they have done extensive research on adolescence, and they have formulated different theories. For example, the first person to work on adolescence and the person who published the first book on adolescence way back in 1904, about 110 years back, that is Stanley Hall. He conducted research in a scientific way and formulated a theory called the strain and stress, and different characteristics also he has explained. Another person who has contributed much to the adolescence is Erikson. He is a developmental theorist, and he has also formulated theory, the different stages of lifespan, and he talked about the identity crisis. Another person is Levin. Levin is a field theorist, as I said earlier. He has also formulated theory on adolescence. So, we will explain or discuss different theories starting from Stanley Hall. Will you please focus on Stanley Hall theory and also Erikson?
Yes, sir. As rightly mentioned by you, the formal study of adolescent psychology started with Stanley Hall way back in 1904 with his publication of Adolescence. And as you rightly also pointed, he was the first president of American Psychological Association. Well, he viewed adolescence primarily as an internal turmoil and upheaval, as you said, the stress and storm. He used the term Sturm und Drang. So, based on two theories which were in vogue during that time, he has developed he has proposed his own principles based upon that. He depended upon two major theories, that is Darwin's evolutionary theory as well as Freud's psychodynamic theory. Both of them have been quite popular and people have believed in them at that point in time. He believed that adolescence is a representation of our human ancestors' phylogenetic shift from being primitive to being civilized. And Hall's assertions stood relatively uncontested till about 1950s. People
accepted this theory.
When psychologists like Erik Erikson and Anna Freud, as rightly pointed out by you, is daughter of Freud. Till they started to formulate their own theories related to adolescence, these remained uncontested. So, Anna Freud, as we all know, she believed that psychological disturbances are associated with youth were biologically based and culturally universal. Erikson, on the other hand, he focused upon the dichotomy between identity formation and role fulfillment in adolescence. That's where their theories become important to us in terms of adolescent development.
This theory, as you said, they explained this Stanley Hall's the strain and stress. Stanley Hall, he has identified different characteristics of the strain and stress. One characteristics or one category is there is a friction between parents and adolescents. There is he called it conflict between parents and the adolescents. And another characteristics of stress and strain is the physical or the behavior, risky behavior. Another characteristic is mood disruption. There is a shift. Mood shifts are there, and one time they will be very happy, and also another time they will be unhappy. There is, he said, they used the term oscillation. There is an oscillation from two extremes. They will be very happy, and very next moment they are unhappy. There are always the shifts, mood shifts are there.
From one extreme to the other, there might be a vacillation.
And as I said, then the risky behavior is there. Because why this is causing risky behavior, the strain and stress is, on one side they are immature, and on the other side there is as I said, their biological need for stimulation, and biological need for stimulation makes people to do several things. And also on the other side there is immaturity. Immaturity is there, but there is a biological need for stimulation, and this is causing them many problems to the adolescents, and finally they are engaging in risky behavior, for example, antisocial work or the sex or different antisocial work are also there involved. And another person is Erikson. As you said, he has developed psychosocial theory. So, because he said there is a conflict between the social factors and also the psycho factors. Psycho means internal factors. There are two terms are there, psychosocial theory, that is psycho means internal factors. It refers to internal factors, that means needs of the parents, needs of the adolescents and also the interests of the adolescents, that are internal factors. And the other side, social expectations are there, but it includes parental expectation. So, there is always a conflict between the internal expectation, that is his own interests, and other side social expectations, or vice the family expectations. They are undergoing this conflict between the internal factors and the external factors. So, that is leading to the identity crisis. Another person is say Levin. He is an important person. He has also contributed much to the adolescence. He has used two important terms. One is marginal man. He said that adolescent is neither a child nor a adult. Then what is he? Is the question. He is a partially child. He is a partially an adult. Now he is expected to play the role of an adult, and he is also expected to play the role of a child. But he has passed the childhood, but he is waiting for the adulthood. But so now he is in confusion. So this he said, and this is also he said made several comments about the parents also. For example, the parents one day say, "Don't talk like this. You are a child." Okay, daddy, I accept I am a child. Next day parents say, "Don't lie like this. You are an adult." Now he is in a great confusion. Am I a child or an adult? So there is a confusion. So this requires, he said, he rightly said that Levin, they need constructive guidance from the parents and also from the different, so say professional counselors, etc. And another term he used is social locomotion, because the person, the adolescent is moving from childhood to the adulthood. Childhood is a known area, because he has already crossing that age. It is a known area, but adulthood is unknown area. It is a highly unstructured one. So it is a new area, unfamiliar area. But the person is moving to the unfamiliar area, and he does not know the goals and the expectations and the functions of the adult, how to discharge the functions of an adult. He is not new. Now he is in confusion. Here he requires the guidance from the parents. So another person is important person who has contributed much to this adolescence is the James Marcis. He is a Canadian psychologist. His theory is an extension of the Erikson. He identified 4 stages of identity status. For example, the first status or the first stage of identity is identity diffusion. In this stage, adolescents, they have not decided their goals about future. They have not explored different alternatives, and they have not made any commitment to any choice regarding career, what occupation he is going to do in future. So, in the first stage, no idea about the future, no idea about the career. That is, just without any commitment to the future or to the career, you pass to the next stage. Next stage is identity 1. Here the identity foreclosure, that Marcia, that Joseph used the term identity foreclosure. Here in this stage, second stage, this adult, sometimes they may explore different options or different careers. Sometimes one day he calls himself as an engineer. I want to become an engineer. After some time, again he changes his view and explore another alternative. For example, doctor. I want to become a doctor. So, it will continue for some time. Again after some time, we will change the view. I want to become a lawyer. So, here is different options are explored, but he is not committed to that option. But the thing is, the just simply accepts the expectations of the parents. Whatever the parents say, they will just accept the terms or the views of the parents. There is the second stage, but the child or the adolescent has just accepted the expectations of the parents, but he is not much committed to the profession, because it is not a self selection. And the third stage is moratorium. According to him, is a moratorium. In this stage, there is a lot of identity crisis. He explores different areas, different the options, and finally, he has not committed to any profession, any occupation. In the second stage, he has accepted the choices of the parents, but in the third stage, he is not accepting the choice of the parents, but he is not able to decide himself which profession he wants to do it. So, there is a lot of confusion is there, lot of crisis is there, lot of anxiety is there, lot of depression is there. That is the third stage, and the fourth stage is identity achievement. So, after crossing the identity crisis, finally this person decides about a particular profession or occupation, and he commits to that profession. So, two things are involved. One is crisis, another is commitment to the profession. In the last stage, where the identity achieved, he has undergone the crisis, finally he has selected one, and he has committed to that profession. He will devote whole of his life to that profession and work hard. That is the different stages that identified by the Marcia. And the other person I have already explained, the Levin. So, these are the different theories of say the adolescents that are proposed by different psychologists. Now, the other important things relating to the adolescence is it is a phase or it is a period of rapid physical changes. There will be enormous or drastic physical changes take place during this period, but this has impact and the psychological aspects of the behavior of the adolescents. As an expert, will you please throw some light on the impact of the physical changes on the psychological aspects of the adolescents?
You have explained very well about different theorists and their propositions, sir. I would once again like to re-emphasize upon Erikson and the identity crisis, and thereupon we will talk about the psychological effects of the physical and physiological changes. Definitely, as you rightly pointed out, adolescence is in a constant strife through this phase of adolescence at different stages, be it early, middle or late adolescence, to examine and re-examine his identity and try to find out exactly who he or she is. In this process, what happens is the main social task over here for him is to discover what is his social identity and what he is more comfortable with out of whatever he has understood. Erikson says that person might naturally try out different roles in this process, like you have been talking about, before he finds out the one which best fits him or her and his internal sense of self. So, the role which matches the internal sense of self that he has is what is going to be suitable for him, for which he has to experiment. So, they try to fit into groups. They try to fit into several groups in order that they feel confident in their identities, the identities that they have explored, that they have understood. He might at the end of it come up with a stable sense of self before moving on to the next stage of adulthood, or if he cannot, if he fails to understand this identity, that is where we see that there is an identity crisis, which you have been talking about, and later theorists have explained it in much more detail. Now, coming to the physical changes in adolescence, let's just sum up about certain changes which we have been talking about. there is a growth spurt, which we have already talked about, individual's height and weight, and the pubertal changes and secondary sex characteristics, which we have been talking about. Now, males experience their growth spurt 2 years later on an average than females.
Right.
Females started first, and even after puberty, the males tend to continue with their natural muscle growth. So, the accelerated growth might be seen in different parts of the body at different times, but not all adolescents have it at a fairly regular sequence,
Regular,
like we have
right.
been discussing even in the beginning today. The first places that grow are extremities, the head, the hands, the feet, the extremities of the body, followed by arms and legs, and then come the torso and shoulders. So what happens, this non-uniform growth in the body is one reason why the adolescent's body may seem out of proportion to himself and others as well. Now, another significant set of physical changes is about with regard to the fat and muscle. During puberty, we know that boys grow much faster than girls, and although both sexes experience rapid muscle movement. In contrast, muscle in boys, when it comes to the fat, though both sexes experience increase in body fat, usually the increase is much more significant for girls. So this is where the changes are visible. Then coming to the secondary sex characteristics, we have discussed also at length about what are the secondary sexual characteristics which might be visible. And then now the psychological effects. Let's once again put these psychological effects in terms of early adolescence, middle adolescence and late adolescence, which we have been discussing a little while earlier. In early adolescence, the psychological effects center around developing a new self-image.
Self-image.
A new self-image due to these physiological changes which we have been talking about so far. Then coming to the middle adolescence, they strive to loosen their ties with their parents, and their emotions and intellectual capacities now increase a little more stability, as we have discussed earlier. Now their sense of self-dependence and sense of responsibility start showing themselves. They become apparent around this time, around middle adolescence. Coming to the late adolescence, they now have a more stable sense of identity, and then they are clear about their place in the society, about their identity and the place in the society, and they should have established by now a balance between their aspirations, what are their fantasies and what is reality. The aspirations, fantasies and reality. And this is where, like you said, if it is not resolved properly, identity crisis comes into the picture. They may feel uncomfortable about the body to start with, while they can adapt to grow into these changes which the body is indicating. Now, success at this stage will lead to the virtue of fidelity. Now, fidelity is being able to commit oneself to others on the basis of accepting others, and also even when there are ideological differences between self and others. Now, they explore possibilities, and they begin to form a new identity, their own identity, based upon the outcome of their explorations and aspirations that they have had. Now, two main aspects of identity development here would be self-clarity, self-esteem.
Yes, right.
Failure to establish a sense of identity within society at this particular point in time may lead to role confusion. Not being sure about what they are, about themselves, and then what is their place in the society, about self and their place in the society as well. So this is where we see the need for support from several sources. Adolescents, as rightly pointed out, from theorists at that point in time to the researchers today, without any doubt, undoubtedly, is a stage of turmoil.
Yes, that is
Stress and storm are inevitable.
inevitable.
This is where support from several sources will be needed. Parents, peers, family, society, and the neighborhood, society at large. This is where the support system becomes important. Otherwise, they end up having several problems.
Okay. So, the different way of talked as the different aspects of physical changes and their impact on the psychological aspects of the behavior of the adolescents. Another thing, important thing of adolescence is that one psychologist that is Otto Rank said it is a change from dependence to independence. And almost many psychologists have agreed. They said it is a stage of struggle between dependence and independence. They struggle for independence. Now, the question is how they resolve the need for independence. They want independence, but what happens? Parents treat them as a child, or parents treat the adolescent as a dependent person, but it does not want like that. So, when there is a struggle, there are two issues are involved. The struggle for independence is between parents and the adolescent. That is one issue. Another important issue is there is a struggle between himself and the society, because he is not matured enough to take up the independent task. On one side, he wants to be an independent person. There is his need is to become an independent person, but at the same time, he is not matured enough, as if he feels that he is not matured enough to take up independent responsibility, but at the same time he wants independence. There is a struggle. So, this struggle is resolved in three ways. The first struggle is resolved, for example, some adults are very impulsive. They declare themselves are independent, and there are some adults, some adolescents, they attain independence gradually. They convince the society or the relatives or parents or others, and they gradually they attain the need for attendance, independence. And the third category of adolescents are, they don't, or they are not impulsive, they are not assertive. If they are assertive, they will convince the parents, explain the parents, and finally they behave as an independent person. The third category is they remain dependent. They remain dependent, and that is one way of resolving the struggle for independence. These are the different ways of resolving the struggle for independence. So, another important aspect of adolescence is say different problems are there, different adult disorders are different, right, different things say role
there
of
is an influence of several factors also,
factors.
sir.
Okay, for example, media is
Yes,
there,
yes, I
peer
agree.
group is there, the influence, the behavior of adolescents is influenced by the peer group, and there are also the family system and also the media. So, media also plays an important role in adolescent development. Please explain the role of the media in adolescent development.
You have raised a very important issue, sir. Media undoubtedly has very strong influence on children, especially adolescents. Look at the difference in the way adolescents think, even going by the studies and researches, across decades.
Okay.
We see several fashions and fads which are influencing the adolescents, including their own sense of body image.
Okay.
There is a lot of influence which media has upon them. Lot of research has been conducted on psychological ramifications, for example, of the body image on adolescents. That's very important for adolescents. Today, modern days teenagers are exposed to media on a daily basis than any other generation prior to them.
Right, yeah.
30 years back, 20 years back, the kind of media profusion today we have has not been there as much as it is today. Now, they are exposed to a lot of representations within the society. Now, the world has become a global village. Now, the kind of exposure that they have is much more different. The concept of a person being unhappy with his own image or appearance is body dissatisfaction. This body dissatisfaction, owing to their dissatisfaction with their own body image, is seen increasingly among adolescents. Now, in teenagers, this body dissatisfaction is associated in adolescents with body mass, their low self-esteem. While body mass is one, aspect. Their low self-esteem is another, and the resultant eating patterns. Atypical eating patterns result, it can be a cause, it can be an effect also.
Right.
Atypical eating patterns. All these become important at this point in time. Now this media profusion that I've been talking about, it has increased over past decades. Definitely it is very good. They are exposed much more to the treasury of knowledge which media gives them. But at the same time, I mean, for example, they utilize the cell phones today. Even a child knows how to operate a cell phone, and an adolescent, a day does not pass without maximum utility of cell phone. That's one of the most important gadgets that he or she should have. Videos, all these, even using the cell phone, smartphones, smart generation, smartphones. So, videos, television, of course, to a lot of extent even today, they through these several advances in technology, they gain access to various mediums of popular culture that is increasingly seen day by day. Now, as a result of the time that they spend with these devices, whatever these modern gadgets are, and improvement of technology, their total media exposure is definitely high. If we go by statistics also, it is very high today. The amount of time which they spend with the computer and with these gadgets is much higher than what it has been with anything else. Now, online activities are supposed to be highest among, they have grown highly among adolescents. It may include video games, it can be email, it can be instant messaging, texting, it can be social networking sites, it can be news sources also. Why, I mean, let's not only look at it negatively, there are several positives.
Also.
Instantaneously, at that point in time, whatever they want to gain access to, the children are able to gain access. So, news sources, music, relaxing music or stimulating music, and then videos, several videos and all. Then, one more important aspect here is social networking.
Social networking, yes.
Social networking has become so very important in the past decade or so. We see so many sites of social networking available to the public, which has not been there earlier. There is a rapid increase, and more number of adolescents using them thanks to technology. I'll give you certain statistics, if you permit me, from a particular research study, sir. Several resources report a high proportion of adolescents who use social media. About 70, according to this particular survey, 73% of 12 to 7-year-olds reported having at least one social networking profile. Minimum one. It can be more than that. Minimum is one. 2/3, that is 68% of the teens that they have visited, that they have talked to, they text every day. There is no single day which passes without texting to others, that is sending messages. Half of them, that is about 51% of them, visit social networking sites daily. Irrespective of whatever the situation is, daily they have to visit. 11% of them send or receive tweets. You know, tweets are the present day mode. So that is 11%. It might have increased by now after this study. Then in fact more than one third of them, that is about 34% of teens, visit their main social networking site. It may be several sites, sir, as I told you. The main site at least several times a day. Not once, several times a day. And 1 in 4, that is about 23% of teens, are said to be heavy social media users, meaning they use at least 2 different types of social media each and every day. So such is the impact of social networking. But let me tell you, social networking, just because we are talking about social networking, just because DSM-5 also mentions about not social networking but technology being overused and then even going to the addiction level, just because, I mean, technology in the sense of which includes all these gadgets and all, no, that does not mean social networking and technology usage is only limited in its, has only disadvantages. There are its own strengths as well. Like for example, there are negative outcomes which researchers have shown. There are also positive outcomes. Like for example, it is supposed to affect their social development. Remember, it's more virtual than real. So social development, which is based upon only virtual communication, is not as positive and healthy as the real social development, right? And then it tends to replace the face-to-face communication. They try to find ways of avoiding face-to-face communication and not being able to do face-to-face communication because there is an anonymity over here. You don't see the person over here. Several such things. And then this might in turn impair their social skills. Social skills are very important. For a person to flourish, for a person to be successful in life, social skills are equally important. Well, this over dependence upon the social networking and not the real networking might impair their social skills. Sometimes it may even lead to we read and we come across so many cases of unsafe interaction with strangers. The very fact that you do not know who you are communicating with, the anonymity itself creates a sense of unsafe atmosphere out there. So we do hear and come across cases where people have been trapped into unforeseen consequences and circumstances because of being over dependent and because of trusting something which is not really very trustworthy in terms of social networking. Then studies have shown differences in the way internet negatively impacts the adolescent's social functioning. In fact, even today researches are being conducted upon the impact of this social networking on adolescents. Online socializing tends to make girls sometimes particularly vulnerable because while socializing, and on the other hand, boys also have their own problems. Like for example, their academic achievement, boys' academic achievement is affected when they are when they over socialize in internet cafes, and girls because they are made vulnerable because of the anonymity, for example, that we have been talking about. However, as I told you, that does not mean social networking does not have any positive effects. I did say that it does have its positive effect. Like for example, it brings internet communication, for that matter, brings people closer, friends closer and easier. It's beneficial to the socially anxious teens who find it easier to interact with people socially online and not really very directly. It can be used as a part of, slow graded exposure, like, step by step, where they can be exposed to real social atmosphere. Well, the more conclusive finding has been all these several findings that we have been talking about. Well, we should say that the research has been inconclusive. While one research says that, another research says this. But then conclusive finding, more or less conclusive finding has been that internet does have a negative effect. Internet usage, over utility of internet has a negative effect on physical health of the adolescents. Like for example, they spend too much time upon internet. Where is the physical activity? So that is where it is pretty conclusive. And it can be useful in educating teens actually, because the access for information is very quick. It's like a sword, it's like a knife which can be used by a surgeon in a very effective way, isn't it? Or it can be used negatively also. So how they use is what matters, but at the same time it can be used very effectively and in a very informative way.
You have raised different issues of the adolescents. As you said, adolescents have different problems, and psychologists also have accepted that adolescents have problems. They need guidance. Now the question is, from where they get guidance? They want guidance, but from where they get guidance, that is a question. So there are different institutions or agencies to provide support to the adolescents. So one is, as you said, media, and another is family system, and another important aspect is the school. The teachers can provide necessary guidance to the adolescents. For this purpose, I also raised the issue of social skills. The World Health Organization, WHO, they have issued guidelines relating to life skills, to have a life skills education program in schools, to provide social skills and also thinking skills. They said life skill education is required for school students and also college students to provide necessary skills and abilities to enable them to deal effectively the day to day challenges or the realities of life, how to face the realities of life. These skills need to be provided in schools. For that purpose, the World Health Organization has formulated guidelines and sent to different countries. It's that the World Health Organization has also identified 10 important core life skills. One is, they also said, they have rightly said, these life skills are characterized as psychological competencies. Life skills are nothing but psychological competencies. The one competency or skill is the creative thinking, and also the other skill is the critical thinking and problem solving skills and the personal relationships, and also the decision making. Like that, they have identified different life skills. All right. So, this helps so that we can provide necessary guidance and skills to the adolescent to face the realities of life. And another thing, so you can explain some more aspects relating to adolescents.
Sir, well, so as you rightly pointed out, the media, basically the family, the school, the peers, the society has to help the adolescent in dealing with the crisis that he has to that he goes through, and then be a supportive social network in order that he deals with it, he deals with these challenges, utilizes the opportunities for which, like for example, you said some training might be necessary for life skills and professional competencies, psychological competencies. Now, there are certain serious psychological problems and disorders which psychologists talk about, which might range between the childhood and adolescence. These also have to be handled. For example, oppositional defiant disorder, where they defy the parental and any rules and regulations. Then there might be a conduct disorder where they might go into serious conduct problems like stealing and other violent activities. There might be a school phobia. There might be anxiety disorders. There might be depression, which is being talked about. So, well, all these have to be dealt with, basically identified by the sources that we have talked. In addition to that, also there should be a support from psychologists, for example, school psychologists, for example, health psychologists, who can help them to come out, and also the necessary professionals and not quacks, the professional psychologists, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, who can help them in dealing with these problems. There might be a behavior therapy that may be used. There might be a cognitive therapy. Any kind of therapy and behavior modification, still they need to approach the right kind of professional.
Thank you, Dr. Padmaja, for being with us. You have thrown light on different aspects of adolescence. We have discussed today the aspects like the different one.